Dr. Minjun Park had been staring at computer screens for 12 years, waiting for a signal that never came. Tonight was different. The monitors at the SETI research facility in New Mexico suddenly flooded with data. Minjun's coffee cup slipped from his hand, splashing across his desk. The pattern was unmistakable. Perfect mathematical sequences, prime numbers. This was not random cosmic noise. "Oh my God," he whispered. His hands shook as he reached for the phone. "Sarah, get everyone in here now." Within minutes, the small research station became chaos. Scientists crowded around the monitors, speaking in rapid voices, checking and rechecking the data. The signal was clear and getting stronger. Someone was out there, and they were sending a message. Dr. Sarah Chen, the lead cryptographer, worked through the night to decode the transmission. When she finally translated it, the room went silent. "Prepare for arrival. Submit or face consequences." Minjun felt cold fear settle in his stomach. This was not the friendly first contact humanity had dreamed about, far beyond Earth's orbit. Commander Vex then stood on the bridge of his warship, staring at the small blue planet on his viewing screen. The Zelthak Dominion had built their empire by finding weak species and absorbing them. Earth looked like another easy target. "Analysis complete, Commander," his tactical officer reported. "The planet is divided into competing nations. Primitive nuclear weapons. No unified defense system. They barely have vessels that leave their atmosphere." Vex's then scaled lips pulled back in satisfaction. "Perfect. Send the standard submission message. We arrive in 6 cycles. Commander, should we not inform the Galactic Council? Standard first contact protocol requires." "The Council moves too slowly," Vex then interrupted. "By the time they process the paperwork, another empire will have claimed this system. We found them. They are ours." The tactical officer hesitated but nodded. The message was sent. On Earth, governments around the world received Minjun's report with panic. Emergency meetings were called. Military forces went on alert. News leaked to the media, and within hours, the entire planet knew that aliens were coming, and they were not friendly. Minjun barely slept. He studied the alien message repeatedly, searching for anything they might have missed. That was when he noticed something strange in the background data. There was a second transmission. Weaker. Being jammed somehow by the first signal. He spent hours trying to filter it out. Clean it up. Make it readable. Weaker. 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 President Kim Soo-jin of South Korea called Minjun directly. "Dr. Park, we need you in New York. The United Nations is forming a response team." "I cannot leave yet, Madam President," Minjun said, his eyes fixed on his screens. "There is another message. Someone else is trying to reach us." While Earth's leaders debated how to respond, Minjun worked. 3 days before the alien fleet was set to arrive, he finally broke through the jamming. The second message was different. The language was not translated yet, but the tone was clear. It felt like a warning. Like someone was trying to help. The UN debated for 2 full days. Some nations wanted to prepare weapons. Others wanted to try negotiation. Many wanted to simply hide and hope the aliens would leave. Finally, they agreed on a message. Simple. Honest. "We are humanity of planet Earth. We come in peace. We request dialogue and understanding. We hope to be your friends, not your subjects." Minjun sent the message himself, broadcasting it on all frequencies toward the approaching fleet. Then, he waited. What he did not know was that someone else was listening. Far from Earth, on a monitoring station hidden in the asteroid belt, observer Kira Shell received Earth's transmission. She had been watching the Sol system for decades, a boring assignment that required little attention. Earth was classified as protected, not to be contacted until they were ready. When she heard Earth's message, followed quickly by detection of the Zelthak fleet, her 3 hearts began beating rapidly. "No, no, no," she muttered, her tentacles flying across her control panels. She pulled up Earth's file in the Galactic Council database. Is status: protected species, conditional, reason, Voyager, golden records, compassion classification, records compassion classification, contact authorization, denied until technological threshold met, violations. To be reported immediately. The Zelthak were violating Council law. Kira Shell had studied Earth's file when she first arrived at this station. The Voyager probes, launched centuries ago by human standards, had been discovered by a Council science vessel. The golden records attached to them had created quite a debate in Council chambers. She remembered reading the reports. The records contained music, images, sounds of Earth. They showed a species aware of its own violence, yet still sending messages of hope into the darkness. The Council had argued for months about what this meant. In the end, Eldis Thurim, the Council's chief philosopher, had declared Earth worthy of protection. They send their best selves to the stars, Thurim had said. We should honor that hope. Kira Shell initiated an emergency priority transmission to Council headquarters. Such transmissions were reserved for disasters, wars, or major treaty violations. She had never used one before. This is Observer Kira Shell, Station 44 Delta. Emergency code, treaty violation. The Zelthak Dominion has initiated unauthorized first contact with protected species Earth. Zelthak fleet entering Sol system in violation of Protected Species Treaty, Article 12, Section 7. Species has responded with peaceful intentions. Request immediate Council intervention. She attached all relevant data, including Earth's message and the Zelthak threat, then transmitted it via quantum relay. It would reach Council headquarters instantly. Now she could only wait and hope the Council would act quickly. On Earth, Minjun finally succeeded in translating the second message. When he read it, he felt relief and confusion in equal measure. People of Earth, remain calm. You are protected under Galactic Council law. Transmit your intentions clearly. Help is coming. Do not fire first. Protected? Sarah asked, reading over his shoulder. They have been watching us? Pro. They have been watching us? For how long? Minjun wondered aloud. He immediately sent this information to the UN. The response was swift. Earth's military forces were ordered to defensive positions only. No aggressive action, unless attacked first. The Zelthak fleet crossed into the outer Sol system. They passed Neptune, then Uranus, moving steadily toward Earth. Commander Vex then was pleased. No resistance, no defense fleet rising to meet them. This would be easier than he thought. Then his communications officer spoke urgently. Commander, we are receiving a transmission. Quantum relay. It is from the Galactic Council. Vex then felt his confidence waver. The Council? How did they? The message is marked priority emergency. It is, Commander. Every officer on the bridge turned to look at their commander. Council messages were never good news for those breaking protocols. Vex then straightened his uniform. Play it. The message that came through would change everything. Not just for the Zelthak fleet. Not just for Earth. But for how the galaxy viewed humanity forever. The voice that spoke was ancient, tired, but filled with quiet authority. You approach a world that sent its best self into the darkness, hoping to be understood. They sent music before they sent warnings. They sent the laughter of their children before they sent threats. What have you sent, Commander Vex, then? The bridge fell completely silent as the message continued. 200 years before the Zelthak fleet approached Earth, a Galactic Council science vessel named the Wandering Truth drifted through an empty region of space on a routine survey mission. Captain Thelvan, a methodical researcher from the Aquarii Collective, was reviewing mineral composition data when her scanner operator called out excitedly. Captain, we have found something unusual. A primitive space probe, very old, moving on a trajectory out of the galaxy. Thelvan felt her interest stir. Ancient probes sometimes contained valuable information about extinct civilizations. Retrieve it. Carefully. The probe was small, primitive by galactic standards, but beautifully constructed. It had a golden disc attached to its side. When they brought it aboard and studied it, they discovered something remarkable. The disc contained sounds, images, and music. Greetings in 55 languages. Pictures of beings called humans. Diagrams showing where the probe came from. Mathematical formulas. And music. So much music. Thelvan listened to something called Bach. Then, something called Chuck Berry. She heard waves crashing, wind blowing, the sounds of creatures called whales. She saw images of humans in different colors, different clothes, different lands. She saw their cities, their art, their children. This is a message, she said softly. They sent a message to anyone who might find it. Her science officer, a young scholar named Kira Shell, studied the data carefully. Captain, look at this. The probe dates back to their early space age. According to our analysis, this species had barely left their home planet when they sent this. They were alone in their solar system, had no proof anyone else existed. Yet they sent this, hoping someone would understand. What does the message say about them? Thelvan asked. Kira Shell pulled up her analysis. They call themselves humanity. Their planet is Earth. And Captain, they were experiencing global conflicts when they sent this. Our historical scans of Earth's electromagnetic emissions from that period show evidence of wars, environmental damage, social upheaval. Yet, the message they sent was peaceful, hopeful. Thelvan made a decision that would echo through the centuries. She brought the probe to the Galactic Council. The council chambers on Axis Prime were massive, filled with representatives from hundreds of species. When Thelvan presented the Voyager Golden Record, it created immediate debate. Another primitive species sending noise into space. But eldest Thurim, the council's chief philosopher, requested to study the records personally. Thurim was old, even by the standards of their long-lived species. They had seen civilizations rise and fall. They had witnessed first contacts that ended in friendship, and those that ended in extinction. Thurim spent 3 months listening to the golden records. Over and over. They studied every image, every sound, every greeting. Then, they called a special council session. I have reviewed the Earth records. Thurim's ancient voice echoed through the chambers. I wish to propose something unusual. This species should be designated as protected. The chamber erupted in argument. Protected status was rare, reserved for species showing exceptional promise or unique cultural value. They are violent, the Zelthak ambassador protested. Our scans show constant warfare on their planet. They are self-destructive, another ambassador added. They damage their own environment. They are divided into competing nations, a third voice called. They cannot even unite their own world. Thurim waited for silence. When they spoke again, their voice was gentle but firm. All true. Yet consider what they did, knowing all of this about themselves. They sent their best into the darkness. Not their weapons, though they had them. Not threats, though they knew violence. They sent music, laughter, art. The sounds of their world. They sent a message that said, we are here, we are flawed, we hope you understand. Thurim displayed an image from the golden record. A human child, laughing. They sent the laughter of their children to the stars, hoping that someone, somewhere, might hear it and know that Earth held life worth knowing. How many species do that? How many of us sent messages of peace while we were still fighting among ourselves? The chamber was quiet now. I have studied 247 civilizations in my lifetime, Thurim continued. Most sent nothing. Some sent warnings. A few sent demands. Only 3, including humanity, sent hope while still drowning in their own darkness. Of those 3, 2 destroyed themselves before reaching the stars. I believe humanity deserves the chance to be the one that survives. But they may become dangerous. The Zelthak ambassador argued. If we protect them now, and they develop into a threat, then we deal with them then, Thurim said firmly. But I will not condemn a species for what they might become, when what they are shows such promise. They acknowledged their own failures and still reached for something better. That takes courage. That takes wisdom. That takes something many of us lack. The vote was close, but Thurim's influence carried weight. Earth was designated protected species. Conditional. No contact would be made until humanity either destroyed itself or achieved certain technological milestones, proving they had matured beyond their violent past. Observer Kira Shell, who had been on that original science vessel, volunteered to monitor Earth. She had been moved by the golden records and wanted to see if this hopeful species would survive. For 2 centuries, she watched. She saw humanity's wars continue. She saw environmental damage worsen. But she also saw the International Space Station built. She saw nations that had been enemies cooperate in space. She saw global efforts to fight disease, to reduce conflict, to save endangered species. Humanity was messy, complicated, still violent, still divided. But they kept trying. Now, in the present, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session after receiving Kira Shell's warning. The chamber was tense. The Zelthak ambassador stood to defend Commander Vexesdan's actions. Earth's own broadcasts show their violence. We have intercepted their entertainment transmissions, their news reports. They glorify war. They show nuclear explosions. This is a dangerous species that should be contained before they reach the stars. Ambassador Jor-El from the Peaceful Lumine Collective spoke up. They also broadcast music, poetry, messages of peace. We have monitored their cultural transmissions. Yes, there is violence. But there is also beauty. Beauty does not matter if they destroy other species when they gain star travel. The Zelthak ambassador countered. Eldest Thurim, now ancient beyond measure and clearly near the end of their life, spoke from their medical chamber. I am dying, Thurim said simply. This will be my last council session. I wish to address this matter personally. Every ambassador in the chamber fell silent out of respect. The Zelthak argue that Earth's broadcasts show violence. True. But what does context matter? Earth sent the Voyager records when they were more violent than they are now. Since then, they have slowly, painfully, reduced global conflicts. They have formed international bodies to promote peace. They have shared technology to fight common problems. Thurim paused. Their breathing labored. They are not perfect, but they are better than they were. They are trying. Should we punish species for trying? The Zelthak fleet has violated the Protected Species Treaty. Kira Shell reported formally. They approached Earth with threats, not peaceful contact protocols. The council chamber erupted in debate again. Finally, the council voted. The Zelthak fleet would be ordered to stand down. Earth's protected status would be upheld. But eldest Thurim requested one more thing. I wish to compose the message to Commander Vex, then personally. The galaxy should remember why we protect those who reach for the light, even while drowning in darkness. The council agreed. Thurim began composing what would become the most famous first contact message in galactic history. A message that would stop an entire fleet, with nothing but words and music. Commander Vex then stood rigid on his bridge as the Galactic Council transmission began. He expected a routine reprimand, perhaps a fine for skipping proper first contact protocols. What he received instead made his blood run cold. Eldest Thurim's ancient voice filled the bridge speakers. Every member of Vexthen's crew stopped working to listen. Commander Vex, then of the Zelthak Dominion. You approach a world that deserves more consideration than you have given it. Before you proceed, you will experience what we experienced when we discovered Earth. The main viewing screen changed. The Voyager Golden Record appeared, spinning slowly in the projection. 200 years ago, we found this. A message, in a bottle, thrown into the cosmic ocean by a species that had no proof anyone would ever find it. They were alone, afraid, fighting among themselves. Yet they sent this clue. The first sound that played was a greeting. Hello from the children of planet Earth. More greetings followed in dozens of languages. Vex then heard hope in those voices. Nervousness. Excitement. The simple desire to be heard. Then the music began. Bach's Brandenburg Concerto filled the bridge. Vex then had heard thousands of species music in his military career. Most was simple, rhythmic, functional. This was different. This was mathematics transformed into emotion. Complexity woven into beauty. They sent this, Thurim's voice continued, when they barely understood their own solar system. They sent their best. The music changed. Chuck Berry's Johnny B. Good played, full of energy and joy. Vex then's communications officer, Lieutenant Jen Ruck, tilted her head, listening intently. Her hand moved slightly, unconsciously following the rhythm. Then came sounds of Earth itself. Wind, thunder, birds, whales singing in dark oceans, a human heartbeat, a mother's kiss, a child's laughter. They sent the sounds of their world, Thurim said. Not conquered worlds, not weapons, not threats. Their world, their home. They wanted to share it. Vex then felt something uncomfortable stirring in his chest. He tried to push it away, to focus on his mission. But Thurim's message continued. Now, Commander, you will see what we see when we look at Earth. The screen showed images from human history, carefully selected by Thurim. The Library of Alexandria, filled with scrolls. Then, it's burning. Knowledge turning to ash. The construction of the Great Wall of China. The destruction of Carthage. Salt poured into conquered Earth. They build and they destroy, Thurim narrated. Like most species. But watch what happens next. The images shifted to World War II. Vex then saw cities burning, bodies in camps, the mushroom clouds of atomic weapons. His tactical officer, Shen Veer, made a small sound of distress. They nearly destroyed themselves, Thurim said, as many species do. The United Nations building appeared. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The formation of the International Space Station, built by former enemies working together. They chose to try again, to be better. To reach for cooperation even when hatred was easier. The images continued. Environmental destruction and conservation efforts, side by side. Poverty and charitable organizations. War and peace treaties. Hatred and love. Darkness and light, woven together in the complicated tapestry of human history. They are not perfect, Thurim said quietly. They may never be perfect. But they keep trying. Generation after generation. Some of them look at their past and say, we can do better. And they try. The screen changed again, showing current Earth broadcasts. News reports about the approaching Zelthak fleet. The images made Vex then pause. He saw humans arguing in government chambers about how to respond. He saw military forces mobilizing, but holding position. He saw protests in streets. People holding signs that said, peace with aliens, and others saying, defend Earth. He saw religious leaders calling for prayer, scientists calling for dialogue, ordinary people making jokes, creating art, expressing fear and hope in equal measure. You sent them a message demanding submission, Thurim said. Here is how they responded. Earth's official reply played again. We are humanity of planet Earth. We come in peace. We request dialogue and understanding. We hope to be your friends, not your subjects. They are afraid of you, Commander. Your fleet outguns their entire planet. You could destroy them easily. They know this. Yet they ask for friendship first. They hope before they fight. Vex then watched social media feeds scroll across the screen. Humans sharing information, debating, arguing, joking. One human had created a cartoon of aliens, arriving to find Earth's internet, and immediately leaving in disgust. Another showed aliens and humans sharing food. The diversity of reaction was overwhelming. They are not unified, Shenvir observed quietly. They have no single voice. No. Thuram agreed, somehow hearing her across the transmission. They do not. They are individuals, each choosing their own response. Some prepare for war. Others prepare welcoming parties. Some are terrified. Others are excited. They are messy, complicated, beautifully, frustratingly complicated. The transmission showed more current Earth footage. Dr. Minjun Park, working frantically to decode messages. The UN, debating late into the night. Military commanders arguing with political leaders about rules of engagement. Scientists trying to find ways to communicate. Teachers trying to explain to children what was happening. This species sent music to the stars before they sent threats, Thuram said. They sent the laughter of children before they sent warnings. When you threatened them, they asked for dialogue first. They are afraid, yet they hope. They are divided, yet they try to speak with one voice to you. They are imperfect, yet they reach for something better. Thuram paused. When they spoke again, their voice was heavy with meaning. You call them primitive, Commander. You plan to conquer them. But answer this question. When your species was at Earth's level of development, what did the Zelthak Dominion send to the stars? Did you send music? Did you send hope? Or did you send exactly what you are sending now? Threats and demands for submission. Vex then felt anger flash through him. How dare the council judge Zelthak history? But he could not answer the question. He knew what his ancestors had sent into space. War fleets. Conquest. The Zelthak had built their empire on the bones of weaker species. Earth is protected under council law. Thuram continued. Protected not because they are perfect, but because they show promise. They acknowledge their darkness and still reach toward light. They admit their failures and still try to do better. They are afraid and still offer peace first. The screen showed one final image. A human child, looking up at the stars. Wonder on their face. Attack them, Commander Vex then, and you do not attack what they are. You attack what they might become. You silence music before it is fully written. You crush hope before it fully blooms. You destroy a species that might, just might, grow into something the galaxy has rarely seen. A people who choose light, despite knowing darkness intimately. The transmission ended with the complete Voyager Golden Record data package downloaded directly into the Zelthak fleet's computers. Every crew member could access it. Every crew member could listen to the music, see the images, hear the greetings. The Galactic Council orders you to stand down and withdraw. Thuram's final words echoed. Earth is protected. This protection is not negotiable. If you proceed with hostile action, the Council will respond with full force. Choose wisely, Commander. The bridge was silent. Vex then stood frozen, his mind reeling. He looked at his crew and saw the same confusion in their eyes. Lieutenant Genrock was still listening to the music through her personal interface, tears running down her scaled face. She looked at her commander, with questions in her eyes. Sir, she whispered, what have we done? The Zelthak fleet held position near Jupiter's orbit. For 3 full cycles, they did not move forward or back. Inside the ships, something unprecedented was happening. The fleet was tearing itself apart from within. Commander Vex then called an officers' meeting in his ready room. Around the table sat his senior staff, and the tension was thick enough to cut. We proceed as planned, Vex then stated flatly. The Council's message changes nothing. Earth is chaotic and violent. Their own broadcasts prove it. We complete our mission. With respect, Commander, Lieutenant Genrock spoke carefully. The Council transmission included legal documentation. Earth is designated protected species. If we attack, we violate Council law. The Council is not here, Vex then snapped. We are. We found this system. The bureaucrats on Axis Prime can debate law after we secure Earth. Tactical Officer Shenveer looked down at her data pad. She had been watching Earth's broadcasts for days now, unable to look away. Commander, I have been studying their response to our arrival. They have mobilized military forces, yes, but they have not taken offensive positions. They maintain defensive formations only. Their governments issued orders specifically prohibiting first strikes. Fear, Vex then dismissed. They know they cannot win. Or restraint, Genrock suggested quietly. They sent peaceful messages, even while preparing defenses. That is not fear. That is discipline. Engineering Chief Korthal, normally quiet during command discussions, spoke up. I have been listening to the music from the Golden Records. The complexity is remarkable. The mathematics required to create such harmonies suggests advanced, abstract thinking. Perhaps more advanced than we initially assessed. Vex then felt control of the meeting slipping. Enough! We are warriors of the Zelthak Dominion. We do not change course because of music and pretty words. We are warriors who used to conquer without question, Genrock said, her voice stronger now. Until the Council forced us to stop. They made us change our ways. Are we now doing to Earth what was done to us? Are we the oppressors we claim to have outgrown? The room went silent. That question cut too deep. Shenveer broke the silence. Her voice soft. I lost my family in the rebellion wars. 60 years ago, when my world refused Zelthak rule and fought back. Command ordered the suppression protocols. My parents were killed in the orbital bombardments. Every officer in the room knew the rebellion wars. They were not proud history. I watched Earth's peace protests, Shenveer continued. I saw humans standing in front of their own military vehicles, demanding their governments choose peace. I saw parents protecting children, just like mine tried to protect me. And I wondered, if Earth were Zelthak property, and they rebelled, like my world did, what would we do to them? Vex then had no answer. He had been part of those suppression forces. He knew exactly what they would do. The Golden Records showed us human children laughing, Genrock added. Just children, playing, learning, hoping, like Zelthak children, like all children. If we attack Earth, those are the voices we silence. War always silences children's laughter, Vex then said harshly. That is the nature of conquest. Is it the nature we wish to keep? Korthal asked. The Council message asked what the Zelthak sent to the stars when we were at Earth's development level. I looked up our historical records. We sent conquest fleets. We sent demands. We sent death. We did not send music. Vex then slammed his fist on the table. Because we were strong. Because we understood. The galaxy is dangerous. These humans are naive, sending friendship messages into the darkness. And yet they survived, Genrock pointed out, while remaining hopeful, while creating art, while reaching for something better. Commander, what if naive hope is actually braver than cynical strength? What if it takes more courage to send music into the darkness than to send weapons? Well, the meeting dissolved into argument. Vex then dismissed his officers. But the damage was done. The message from Eldest Thurum had planted seeds of doubt throughout the fleet. On Earth, Dr. Minjun Park worked with observer Kira Shell through carefully established communication protocols. The translation was difficult, but getting better. The Zelthak fleet has not moved, Kira Shell reported. They have not withdrawn, but they have not advanced. Internal fleet communications suggest division among the crew. Will they attack? Minjun asked directly. Unknown. Commander Vex Than is career military. Proud. Backing down would be seen as weakness in Zelthak culture. but his crew is questioning him. The eldest's message affected them deeply. Min-jun rubbed his tired eyes. He had not slept properly in days. What do we do? 1. What do we do? You wait. And you stay true to your message. The Council is watching to see if Earth truly means its peaceful intentions. If you attack first, even in self-defense, protection status could be voided. So, we just sit here while they decide whether to kill us? Kirashel's translated response came with what Min-jun suspected was sympathy. You sent hope into the darkness with the Voyager probes. Now, you must live that hope. Show the galaxy that humanity means what it says. The UN broadcast continuous messages toward the Zelthak fleet. Not threats, not pleas. Just steady communication. We are here. We see you. We wish to talk. We hope for peace. We are prepared to defend ourselves if we must. But we hope we do not have to. Please, talk with us. Inside the Zelthak fleet, crew members accessed the Voyager records on their personal time. They listened to Bach and Chuck Berry. They looked at images of human diversity. They heard greetings in 55 languages. In the mess hall of Vexthen's flagship, junior officers gathered to discuss what they had heard. The music is beautiful, one young officer admitted. I watched their historical footage, another said. They survived a nuclear age without destroying themselves. Many species do not. That requires wisdom. Or luck, a skeptical officer countered. Maybe both, the first officer replied. But they are still here. Still trying. That counts for something. People Ramberzane. People too But I make still. Word of these discussions reached Vexthen. He found himself isolated in his ready room, staring at the data on Earth. Population. 8 billion. Hundreds of nations. Thousands of cultures. Millions of voices, all arguing, debating, hoping, fearing. He played one of Earth's broadcasts, a human mother being interviewed on their news networks. I am afraid, she said honestly. I have 2 children. I am terrified of what might happen. But I remember what my grandmother told me about her childhood during World War II. She said that even in the darkest times, humans found ways to choose hope. I have to believe we can do that now. I have to believe that somewhere up there, someone is willing to listen. Vexthen turned off the broadcast. He thought about his own family, generations ago. Before the Zelthak became conquerors. What had they hoped for? What had they dreamed? Before war became the only answer. His communicator chimed. Lieutenant Genrak, requesting to speak with him privately. When she entered, she looked nervous, but determined. Commander, half the fleet is ready to mutiny if you order an attack on Earth. Not out of cowardice. Out of conscience. Conscience? Vexthen said bitterly. Since when do Zelthak warriors have conscience? Since we were forced to develop one by the Council, Genrak replied. Vexthen had no answer. For the first time in his military career, he genuinely did not know what to do. The humans keep sending messages, Genrak said softly. They ask us to talk. Not to surrender. To talk. What if we answered them? And say what? Vexthen asked. I do not know. Genrak admitted. But maybe that is a question worth asking them. Commander Vex then sat alone in his quarters for an entire cycle, wrestling with a decision that went against everything his military training had taught him. Finally, he made a choice that would surprise everyone, including himself. He composed a message to Earth, not a demand, a question. The transmission reached SETI's facility in New Mexico at 3 in the morning. Dr. Min-jun Park was sleeping at his desk when the alert woke him. He read the translated message 3 times to be sure he understood it correctly. Humans of Earth. I am Commander Vex, then of the Zelthak Dominion. I have studied your world. I have seen your broadcasts. You fight each other constantly. Your planet is divided into competing nations. You damage your own environment. You cannot even keep peace among yourselves. Why should we believe you truly seek peace with us, when you have not achieved peace with each other? Minjun sat back in his chair, his heart pounding. This was not a threat. This was an honest question. The commander was actually trying to understand. He immediately contacted the UN. Within the hour, an emergency session was called. Representatives from around the world debated how to respond. Some wanted to give diplomatic answers, carefully worded to avoid offense. Others wanted to defend humanity's honor. President Kim Soo-jin of South Korea had a different idea. "Send Dr. Park," she said. "He has been the voice of Earth since this began. Let him answer honestly." The world leaders agreed, though many were nervous about putting such weight on one person's shoulders. Minjun was given 12 hours to prepare a response. He spent most of that time staring at a blank screen, trying to find words that were both true and hopeful. Finally, he wrote from his heart. When the transmission went out, billions of humans watched and listened. Minjun's voice was steady, but honest. "Commander Vex, then, you are right. We do fight among ourselves. We are divided. We have made terrible mistakes and continue to make them. We damage our own world. We are not perfect, and I will not claim otherwise." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "But we are trying." Every generation of humans looks at what the previous generation did and asks, "Can we do better?" Sometimes we fail. Sometimes we succeed. But we keep trying. That is what those Voyager records were. Not a claim that we are perfect. Not a promise that we have all the answers. Just hope that someone out there might understand what it means to be imperfect and still reach for something better. Minjun pulled up images on his screen, broadcasting them alongside his words. "You asked why you should believe we seek peace with you when we fight among ourselves. Here is my answer. Because we know what war costs. We have seen it. We have lived it. We have buried our children because of it. And many of us have decided that we are tired of that cost. We want something different." He showed images of the United Nations building, of peace treaties being signed, of former enemies working together on the International Space Station. "We are not unified. That is true. But we are learning. Slowly. Painfully. We are learning that cooperation is stronger than conquest. That understanding is wiser than hatred. That talking is braver than shooting. These are hard lessons. We fail at them often. But we keep trying to learn them." Minjun took a breath, his voice growing softer. "You sent us a message demanding submission. We could have responded with defiance. We have weapons. We could have fired at your fleet and maybe hurt you, even if we could not win. But we did not. We asked to talk instead. Not because we are weak, because we hope we can be better than our worst instincts." He paused, then added words that were not in his prepared script. "Commander, I have a daughter. She is 7 years old. Yesterday, she asked me if the aliens were going to hurt us. I told her I did not know. But I also told her that I believed most beings in the universe, whether human or alien, probably want the same basic things: safety, purpose, to be understood, to matter. I have to believe that is true. Because if it is not, then what hope is there for any of us?" The transmission ended. Minjun sat back, exhausted and uncertain if he had said the right things. On Vex Then's flagship, the entire bridge crew listened to Earth's response. When it finished, there was long silence. Lieutenant Genrock spoke first. He did not make excuses. He admitted their failures and still asked for hope. "That takes courage," Shenvir nodded slowly. He spoke of his daughter. Protecting children. That is universal. Every species understands that. Vex then stared at the screen, showing Earth. That small blue world so full of complicated, messy, hopeful life. He thought about his own people's history, the wars before the Council forced them to change, the rebellions they had crushed, the species they had conquered. Were the Zelthak really so different from humanity? Or were they just further along the same difficult path? As Vex then wrestled with his decision, another transmission arrived. This one was from Eldest Thurim directly, but it was addressed to all ships in the Zelthak fleet. Not just the commander. This is Eldest Thurim. This will be my final message. I am dying. But, before I go, I wish to share something with the crew of the Zelthak fleet. The transmission included historical data. Zelthak history. Their own violent past. Their wars of conquest. Their gradual transformation. After the Galactic Council intervened and forced them to change. You are not so different from Earth, Thurim said gently. Your species was once what they are now. Divided, violent, struggling. The Council helped you grow beyond that, not by conquering you, but by showing you a different path. Now you have a choice. Do you pass that gift forward? Or do you become the oppressors you once fought against? The transmission ended with one final image. The Zelthak homeworld, as it looked before the wars. Beautiful, whole, full of hope. Remember what you were before the darkness, Thurim whispered. And help Earth become what you became after. That is my final wish. Vex then stood on his bridge, feeling the weight of hundreds of eyes on him, his crew, his responsibility, his choice. He opened a communication channel to Earth. Dr. Minjun Park. I do not have a daughter, but I had parents. They died in wars that accomplished nothing except creating more wars. You said your species is trying to learn that cooperation is stronger than conquest. We learned that lesson, but we learned it the hard way, after the Council forced us to stop conquering. He paused, the admission difficult. Maybe Earth can learn it an easier way. Maybe we can help teach what we learned, instead of making you suffer as we did. I do not know if this will work. I do not know if our peoples can truly understand each other. But you asked to talk. And I think we should try. The bridge crew did not cheer, but Vex then saw relief in their eyes. Within hours, arrangements were made. The Galactic Council provided a neutral space station near Mars for the first meeting. Earth sent a delegation led by Dr. Park. Vex then led the Zelthak representatives. The first meeting was awkward. Tense. Humans and Zelthak sat across from each other, separated by biology, culture, and fear. But they talked. Dr. Park showed images of Earth's history, the wars, the peace, the ongoing struggles. He did not hide humanity's failures. Vex then shared Zelthak history. Their own wars, their forced transformation, their ongoing attempt to be better than they were. We are not friends, Vex then said honestly at the end of the first session. But maybe we do not need to be enemies. That is enough to start, Minjun agreed. Over the following months, more meetings happened. The Galactic Council formally granted Earth provisional contact status. Humanity was introduced to a galaxy full of species, each with their own complicated histories. The Voyager Golden Records were returned to Earth in a formal ceremony. They were installed in the United Nations headquarters, displayed in a place of honor. A plaque was added beneath them with words from Eldest Thurim, who had died peacefully shortly after the Zelthak fleet stood down. They sent their best selves to the stars, hoping someone would understand. We understood. May we all remember that hope costs nothing, but gives everything. Dr. Minjun Park stood in front of the display with his daughter, Ji-woo. She looked up at the golden records with wide eyes. Daddy, did these really stop a war? Minjun smiled, putting his hand on her shoulder. No, sweetheart. They did something better. They reminded everyone, human and alien, why wars are worth avoiding. They reminded us what we are fighting for when we choose peace. Ji-woo thought about this. What are we fighting for? The chance to be better tomorrow than we were yesterday, Minjun said. The chance for children like you to grow up in a universe where different people can talk, instead of fight. where music matters more than weapons, where hope is stronger than fear. That sounds hard, Jiwoo observed. It is, Minjun admitted. Very hard. But your great-great-great-grandparents sent those records into space, hoping for exactly this. They reached for something better without knowing if anyone would ever respond. Now we have our answer. The galaxy heard us. And now, we have to prove that the hope they heard was worth believing in. Above Earth, ships from a dozen species maintained peaceful orbits. The Zelthak fleet remained as well, no longer as conquerors but as awkward, uncertain participants in humanity's introduction to the galactic community. It was messy, complicated, sometimes tense. But humans and aliens were talking, learning, trying to understand each other. In the great chambers of the Galactic Council, a new exhibit was opened. The Voyager Golden Record display, accompanied by recordings of the first human Zelthak dialogue. Ambassador Kirashel stood before it, remembering the young science officer she had been when they first discovered the records. "We heard your hope," she whispered to the display. "And it changed everything." Music from Earth played softly in the background. Bach, Chuck Berry, the sounds of wind and waves, and children laughing. The galaxy had heard humanity's message. And the galaxy was listening, still.